Olivier, the stage is yours.
Thank you,
Olivier is
Kristin.
gonna show off with some beautiful cars. There we go. Go ahead, Olivier. James Bond.
Difficult to compete on that one.
Back on the question, quite funny because for Aston Martin, the more customized the cars are, the more profitable by far. So it's a bit of a different story. I'm also very conscious that it's lunchtime for everybody, Friday as well, and we've never been that close to Christmas. So I try to be concise in the approach. So what I will share with you is really how we, and related to what Kristin was saying, how we are making the most of the first-party data at Aston Martin through a dedicated retail marketing strategy, and how also our dear friends from Cartelux are helping us in that journey. I think that you all know Aston Martin, we have celebrated this year our 110th anniversary. We were born on track. We had a quite successful F1 season this year. And the brand is crystallizing a lot of emotions, a lot of fans, and a lot of people also looking at us in the future. So working for this kind of iconic brand is heavy in the way that you have a tremendous legacy to consider and to respect, but also stepping ahead in the future and making sure that the digital capabilities for such a brand will be respected. Because as per what Raphael was presenting, but also Kristin, we cannot stay in the past. We definitely need to move forward in the future. And the digital capabilities of the company must follow these steps. We are also having a very strong and heavy product journey because we launched 6 new models this year. We are launching another set of very nice models next year. So things are going very fast at the moment at Aston Martin. But as for the digital world, so we need to adapt ourselves there. As for any kind of brand, we have repositioned recently the brand through what you can see here, intensity driven, which is our new brand positioning, and then leading to a very high level of communications towards our audiences. And I think it's very valid for an ultra luxury brand like Aston Martin, but also very valid for any other brand. When you perform such a brand repositioning, you need to make sure that you have an ultra high level of consistency when you do so. And that is very valid at any level of the company, being the communications that can be performed from the headquarters, but also from our dealers who are selling our cars. And that is basically the challenge that we have. Because we always need to keep in mind that for anybody, there is only one Aston Martin, like there is only one Nissan, for instance. People don't necessarily always conceive that you have the headquarters, you can have like regional offices, you can have dealers and different teams and departments, and everybody at some point wants to connect and communicate with the customers. But this is where the mess is happening, and this is where we need to make sure that either through guidelines or dedicated systems, we protect the brand itself and in the way that will communicate to the customers. Hence the importance of the first-party data. We do have a bit more than 160 dealerships across the globe, which is making basically 160 different companies that we will need to control in a bit and make sure that everything will be done in a very consistent way for the communications, which is making, again, this as quite an interesting challenge. But I always say that our number one dealership globally remains our website. This is really the best way to display the brands, and we do have a bit more than 13 million visitors on our website globally every year, which is then a massive source of first-party data for us and insight for our customers. But again, this is where we need also to use tools that are making the most of this first-party data. Related to what Kristin was just saying about AI machines, this is really something that we are using today to have the best use of this massive amount of data that we have through the website. But not only because we have our websites, we do campaigns from an headquarter perspective, but it's exactly the same for the dealers. They have their own websites, they do their own campaigns, and we could send them guidelines or some assets that we want them to use. There will be always this siloed way of processing campaigns and having a proper use of the data in some ways. And all of this is, I think, the reality of all the companies, at least, and I know that on the automotive world, for sure. But this way of processing in silos is what is almost defining any kind of marketing activities. And as a consequence, as you can imagine, we are losing a very high level of potential conversions and also the knowledge of our customers. Because if we don't have into one single place the first-party data being sitting and being analyzed, nurtured by AI machines and machine learning tools, you are, I think you are maybe using 10% of the potential of the data that you have. And ultimately, not making the right level of business that you need to do with this data, because we talk about here selling cars, right, for Aston Martin, and there is always a layer of things that can be done better. So at the end, we need to have this integrated marketing approach and this one single element where we do regroup everything together. And that is what we have designed this year, that we are putting in place. So this is what you can see here. We now have a centralized customer data platform, which is the CDP that you have here, sitting with Salesforce for Aston Martin. And on top of that, we are applying also a cloud solution. That central element, this is where should sit all the first-party data that we have, being coming from the website, from the configurator that we have, from the emailing activities that we do, from the global campaigns that we do on an advertising perspective, but ultimately also what is coming from the dealer's websites, for which we'll be launching next year a common frame for all the dealers globally, and working on the capabilities to extract the first-party data also from these websites to sit within this central system that you can see here. And that is also very valid for the campaigns that the dealers are doing. Reason why we have introduced notably Cartelux this year within some countries to make sure that the dealers, while performing their digital campaigns, will use a tool in which we are pushing the assets that we want them to use, we are pushing the copy that we want them to use, and also we are relying on the technologies embedded into the tools, such as all the capabilities that Kristin was talking about, and the ability to have a better performance of the campaigns. So as such, into one single place, we have all the first-party data. And ultimately, my aim is me in the HQ position to tackle the upper part of the funnel, like the brain part. And from all the first-party data that will be generated through that, injected that towards the dealers through Cartelux to make sure that they can reuse my first-party data to have a better level of conversion. And same, any first-party data that can be useful for me on an HQ perspective to refine my loyalty strategies toward the customers, to develop further my propensity modelings for conversions for one customer on another. This is, at the end, what I call a win-win situation, because on my side, I can make the most of the data that we have in the systems that we're putting in place, but ultimately, the dealers can sell more cars. That's really the final aim. So this is, again, what I'm calling like the unleashing the power of first-party data, because related to what Kristin was saying, very soon we will lose quite a big portion of the data available to us, and the first-party data would be absolutely a gold mine for everybody. So we need to consider that as from now, because that is coming. We don't know exactly when. I know that it's been always like a bit delayed, but it will definitely come one day. And acting now, I think it is really, really important. So again, as I was saying, is to anticipate this cookieless world to come. and making sure that all the data that we have, that you own as a company, will be nurtured, exploited to the max at some point to generate business. So again, all about this conversion elements, but again, really the conversion for the dealers. Really, my aim with this kind of strategy is really to make sure that I'm not acting on my side and the dealers on their side. I have everything to win, to give them access to my first-party data. Of course, you have some legal elements there to respect, some contracts to be updated, but at the end, the aim is still the same, to sell more Aston Martins and drive like higher performance and also consistency in the communications. Because again, I'm talking about just the data itself, but ultimately, and as I said in the introduction, I want to make sure that the way that any communication from Aston Martin would be done, being from the HQ or from the dealers, will be done in a super consistent way, and there will be no disruption either in the journey or in the way that the brand is displayed, digitally speaking. So as I said, my aim is ultimately with this system in place to focus on the brand awareness and the model awareness, and from any data that will be generated to that, injected that to the dealer so that they can perform the conversion and get directly the customers at the dealership performing test drives and buying cars. So my goal is also doing so to attribute much more sales to digital and to double the digitally attributed sales by the end of next year. We are already at quite a very interesting level, but I know, and because the data is segregated and not compiled into one single place, I know that sales linked to digital is much higher than that. And as long as we can prove it, we can then, after that, make also our decision makers in the company being really aware that digital is the future, and unleashing the power of what we can do in digital is absolutely important. That's again like summarizing what was I was just saying. The combined activities between the HQ and the dealers for me is really the way to go, and this is what I really want to put in place for Aston Martin. And the Cartelux platform will help us, again, as I was saying, because that is, for me, the link between my communications and the ones from the dealers. And with that tool, I'm making sure that there is a very high level of consistency, because I'm controlling, even if it's not maybe not the right word, but I'm ensuring that the consistency is respected on every single layer of communication. So that's the win-win situation that I was mentioning. Hopefully, we'll be also on the podium with the F1 team next year. We're working hard on that, as you can imagine. But digitally speaking, we are already seeing very positive results from these the first days of such system in place. And again, it's a win-win thing for everybody.
Thank you, Olivier. We're gonna end up with Kristin to wrap up the session. But and I guess the first-party data, and linking back to the question we had on the how to customize cars, and it costs a lot of money. But first-party data will help to delight the customized personalization of the experience for the customer. And I guess this is ultimately what all brands wants to do. And I guess for you, on an ultra luxury element, Kristin was mentioning the LVMH group and Tiger, I think this is also the consistency of the experience each of the customer are entering, whether it's digital or physical, and come back to the Gen Z element, the phygital world that the Gen Z is looking for. So I think the first party data will also help brands to effectively delight the customer experience.